What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Week 9 Monday Night Football Showdown Breakdown here on Sharp Sports Network. I'm your host, Joe Bewer, and I'm going to be breaking down this jam-packed game between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Before I get into that, I just want to do a quick recap of this weekend. We absolutely crushed the main slate. The lineup scored about 172 points. Put us into the cash in all formats, and then followed it up with the Showdown slate, which scored just north of 100 with the lineup that I had provided. So if you guys aren't already a part of Sharp Sports Network, here's your opportunity. We are sponsored by Fantasy Draft, so on behalf of Fantasy Draft, we were able to do this incredible giveaway. If you want to get access to our NFL private content for tonight's Showdown slate, where you can get access to my player grading, analysis, write-ups, and the private live stream later on tonight, I would highly suggest going over to fantasydraft.com, signing up using the code SHARPSPORTS with no spaces, and then depositing $10, sending me a screenshot on Twitter of you doing that, and I'll get you set up with a free NFL season pass. It's an incredible deal. A lot of people have taken advantage of it, and they are cashing out with ease on these Showdown slates. We are the best in the business on Showdowns. I think out of the last 7 Showdowns, we've only lost 1. So this Showdown is going to be no different, but we do have a jam-packed slate here. I'm going to be going over DraftKings and FanDuel, some of my favorite plays. But let's jump over to NFL Savant here. We can kind of get a look at what we're dealing with here. Targets on the year so far, Michael Gallup missed a few games, but is only trailing Amari Cooper by 12 targets, which is a good sign for this game. Basically, red zone targets all go to Jason Witten, and it's going to continue to be that way. They run a lot of tight end sets over in the red zone. And then rushes. Ezekiel Elliott has just dominated the rushes and has been pretty heavily involved in the passing game recently. Over here on the side of the Giants, Golden Tate has emerged this year as a top receiver for the Giants. Daniel Jones has really loved targeting him, but Evan Engram has pretty much taken over the target share, 20% of the target share so far, and Saquon is just behind Golden Tate as he is a dominant catching back. So a few things we're going to want to look at here. Red zone targets, like I said, they're going to go to Evan Engram or Saquon Barkley for the most part. Rushes, Saquon has not been the back that he was last year. He's not rushing as many times as he usually does per game. He's being heavily involved in the checkdown game, which is a very good sign against the Cowboys, who rank dead last in the amount of checkdown passes allowed to running backs, averaging about 8 checkdown passes per game allowed to running backs, which is 8 fantasy points on DraftKings, which is PPR. So for me, I love Saquon Barkley today, and I love Ezekiel Elliott. The volume is just there. One thing I want to point out is last time on a Showdown slate, Zeke went up against Philadelphia Eagles, top 5 rank running back defense, put up 29.7 DraftKings points with 22 attempts, 111 yards. They were easing him back in. They were easing him back in here in this Green Bay game. 12 touches for only 62 yards. Still put up 17 DraftKings points. He's being unleashed now. You're going to see 25 touches minimum this game. I expect Dallas to be in the lead, so I expect Zeke to get garbage time yardage. He's going to be out there on the field at all time. He's going to play 95% of the snaps. He's going to be out there as much as he can be. Same with Saquon Barkley, getting him back from that injury that he had to his ankle. The one thing that Saquon Barkley has over Ezekiel Elliott is his catching upside. He is incredible catching back, but the inconsistencies over the past few weeks, like I said, he's been injured and stuff like this. But the defense for the Cowboys is actually pretty solid. The defensive line has a 25.3% pressure rate on the quarterback per snap, resulting in a 10.5 adjusted sack percentage, which is pretty solid. So they're not allowing a lot of points this year. Saquon Barkley is going to be a test of their skills, but I think I want to be overweight here on the Dallas side of things. And there's only about 2 or 3 players on the Giants that I would even potentially roster. Just looking over here, the Giants rank 23rd in the league, 122.4 yards per game on the rush, allowing almost 26 points per game and 265 passing yards per game. I think this is just a smash spot for the Dallas Cowboys to come out. They show out on Showdown slates, and last week Matt Stafford played against this Giants defense and threw up 3 touchdowns for like 380 yards, just going at him. So I think that this Giants defense is definitely one to attack. Their secondary is a bunch of young guys, very inexperienced. So I think that with these receivers, we can really attack a lot of areas that we wouldn't be able to usually attack on these showdown slates. So for me, I like both running backs. I'm heavily favoring towards Zeke, though, just based on volume for cash games. Dak Prescott has to be a lock for me. If we look back against the first game this year, he put up 4 touchdowns for 405 yards against the Giants. He's consistent. He's been consistent all year. The passing yards have been there. The attempts have been there. He's only had a few games below. He's only had one game below 30 passing attempts, which is a very good sign. And that leads me to his receivers. Amari Cooper is one of my favorite guys. Earlier this year, he had 106 yards for a touchdown on 9 targets. He's been very inconsistent over the past 4 games, which leads me to believe that it's going to be more of a GPP play for me. Just going to be tough to try and pay off that 10K price tag if I'm going to want to roster him in the flex, even in the flex position where he's 10K. So for me, I'm a big fan of Michael Gallup at this soft 7.4K price tag. I know it's been, injuries have really plagued Michael Gallup this season, but the targets have been nonetheless there. 7 for 7 against the Giants, 158 yards. Didn't even need a touchdown to outscore Amari Cooper. And over here, 14 receptions, 113 yards, and a touchdown. He's getting the targets. He's going to get targeted. And in the slot, going up against inexperienced receivers, that the Giants have allowed a touchdown to slot receivers in all of one game this year. Same with the Dallas Cowboys as well. So for me, I'm a big fan of Michael Gallup here today at a soft 7.4K price tag. Amari Cooper at 10K feels a little overpriced for a receiver. Over on the Giants side, you have Evan Engram, who's arguably he tore up the Giants earlier this year, or the Cowboys earlier this year. He's torn up the Cowboys on multiple occasions. But for me, Evan Engram at 7.8K over the past few games hasn't been targeted as much as I would have liked. I think that they're going to try and use him here, but the Dallas Cowboys have since stepped up their defense. Their outside defense, their perimeter defense has been pretty stout. So for me, I'm more of a big fan of Golden Tate here. The targets have, since joining and receiving 6 targets first game, it's been increased to 9, then 11, and then 10. It's been double-digit performances 3 straight games. Daniel Jones loves him, and the Cowboys are terrible against slot receivers. I want Golden Tate in all my lineups. Especially with Sterling Shepard out, I think Golden Tate is an absolute lock, as well as Michael Gallup, because we really want to get up to this double running back set. I think that makes a lot of sense. Double running back set with Dak Prescott. These top 3 guys are a core for me. I think they make a lot of sense. Golden Tate makes a lot of sense as well. And then you get down to this gray area here where there's really not a lot to go off of. Jason Witten, I don't have too much. But Darius Slayton, I have a little bit of exposure to, only because he plays pretty much the entire game. 90% of the snaps for Darius Slayton and 97% of the snaps for Golden Tate, and only 73% of the snaps for Evan Engram. So I really like these outside receivers in Slayton and Golden Tate. Kickers will always be viable. You can plug them in if you need them. Now, getting down to this area where you're going to find some value. Blake Jarwin makes some sense in GPPs here. He's received a touchdown last game. His upside is capped pretty much at what it was at 7. But one thing that I do want to talk about is, where is he? Cody Latimer. He's playing around 55% of the snaps without Sterling Shepard. Getting targeted 8 times over the past 2 games. Has a floor of pretty much 4 fantasy over the past 2 games. I don't have a problem rostering Cody Latimer at $800. A couple catches is all you really need to reach value, and it really opens up the floor to get as many of these top-tier players that you want. So as far as captains for cash games, I like Michael Gallup a lot, and I like either of these 2 running backs. Michael Gallup in the captain spot puts you at 11K. You put Zeke, Saquon, Dak, you're at 2,000. You put in Cody Latimer, you're at 4,700 left. You get one of these guys here. That's just kind of one spot to go. If you want Golden Tate, which is a cheaper option at captain, you have a little more flexibility. You can get Golden Tate, Zeke, Saquon, Dak, and you put in Cody Latimer. You have 800 left. You're left at 5,600. You can get somebody like Slayton or Witten. So it's just really going to be on you on which one you want to choose. For me, Zeke makes the most sense. So in a lineup that I have built for cash games, I had Michael Gallup with Zeke, Dak, Golden Tate. Put in Mr. Cody Latimer, and you're left with 9.3K left. And you could go Evan Engram, you can go Daniel Jones, you can go either of these guys. I don't have a problem with playing both quarterbacks, but I think that Gallup provides the most upside. Amari Cooper may have a safe floor, but you have to look at volume here in cash games, especially. Gallup is going to get the targets, especially in the slot. Dak's going to look for him. Zeke is going to get the most volume. Dak is going to be throwing the ball, and Golden Tate is going to get volume as well. You have no choice but to play some of these guys. If you took out Cody Latimer, you can go balanced. You can go 2,300. You can get somebody like Blake Jarwin. You can get Evan Engram and Golden Tate just to maximize the upside. I don't have a problem with that either. But that's where I would go. As far as GPPs over here on DraftKings, I would go with Cody Latimer in captain and just run it down. I would run all these guys. I would run Gallup. I'd run Tate. That's what I would run. I would run all of them. Zeke, Barkley, Dak, Gallup, Tate. You can get anybody. You can get anybody that you want with Cody Latimer in GPP. Now, heading over here on FanDuel where things are a little different, I think that one of these top guys needs to be your captain. So I would go Zeke at captain. I would run that back with Gallup and Cooper. You're left with 9.5K left. And I would put somebody like Darius Slayton in there just to kind of cap it off. Somebody like this makes for a solid lineup for me. You get Zeke, Dak, Michael Gallup, Slayton, and Golden Tate. You're getting two receivers that play 90% of the snaps. They're bound to catch some passes. It doesn't make sense to not play them. The only other thing that I would recommend is playing somebody like Saquon. And then that leaves you with 6K left. Somebody like Cody Latimer makes a lot of sense. Over here you can get a receiver, Saquon, Zeke, Dak, and Michael Gallup. This is a lineup that I would definitely run in cash games and have no issues running either of those lineups in cash games. But I think the core here is probably going to be Zeke, Dak, and Michael Gallup. They make a lot of sense. Amari Cooper's upside is huge, but I think Amari Cooper at his price over here at 13K is just a little capped. I mean, look at the inconsistencies. Like I said, 19, 12, 23, 7, 34, 0 against the Jets, and then only 13. Over here on FanDuel, you're getting a lot more upside with Michael Gallup. And to be honest, in the slot, you're getting a safer floor against inexperienced cornerbacks and a terrible defense. So I want to be overweight as much as I can on these volume guys for the Cowboys. So Zeke is a must play for me. I mean, just it's consistent. It's so consistent over the past 5 games, over 10 fantasy, over 13 fantasy. So I really want to be overweight on these guys here. So with that being said, that's going to be the core for me. It's Zeke, Dak, and Michael Gallup for the most part. I think our top plays. I think Cody Latimer is an incredible value. Saquon is incredible as well, especially on FanDuel. He's a little harder to fit in on DraftKings, but I think you can make it work. So with that being said, private live stream is going to be out later tonight, and cheat sheets will be out in the next hour or two. Make sure that you take advantage of that fantasy draft promo so you can go ahead and become part of the team and cash out. So with that being said, good luck to everybody today. If you are a public member, if you're private, I will see you in the Discord as well as the private live stream. With that being said, I will see you all tomorrow for the first look video looking at Week 10. Peace.